You buy something you've been looking forward to for a whole month. The package arrives, you excitedly open it, and you feel absolutely nothing special. You watch a movie everyone's raving about, but as you sit there, your mind just drifts away. You hang out with friends, laughing and talking like normal, but deep down, there's this feeling that something is missing. It's not exactly sadness. It's not that you hate your life, either. It's just that everything has become strangely flat, as if someone quietly turned down the volume on all your emotions. If this sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. And actually, there are very specific reasons behind this, things that most of us never even notice. You know, this feeling actually has a name in psychology. It's called Anhedonia, which roughly translates to a reduced ability to experience pleasure. It sounds pretty serious, but anhedonia isn't always a medical condition. Sometimes, it's simply the result of how our brain is trying to adapt to the modern environment. An environment with way too much stimulation, but far too few moments of stillness. And the interesting part is, most of the causes lie in the very habits we consider completely normal. First, try to imagine your brain as a speaker. If you keep the volume cranked up to the max all day long, eventually, that speaker won't react as strongly to quieter sounds anymore. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter linked to motivation and pleasure, works in the exact same way. According to various studies in neuroscience, our constant exposure to massive spikes of dopamine, like scrolling through social media, watching short videos, playing games, or even just the ding of a phone notification, can cause this system to gradually become numbed. Our brains have gotten so used to these massive hits that the small, slow joys of everyday life, like a morning cup of coffee, an unhurried conversation, or an aimless walk, suddenly aren't enough to generate the excitement they used to. A lot of people refer to this through the lens of a dopamine detox, a phrase that's been thrown around a lot lately. Even though the actual science behind it is more complex than what social media portrays, the core truth is this: your brain hasn't lost its ability to feel joy. It just needs a higher threshold of stimulation to react. Exactly like a muscle that's gotten used to lifting heavy weights, and now can't even feel the weight of a light dumbbell. But that's not even the most interesting part. The truth is, so many of us don't even realize that we are living in a state of chronic stress, because this stress doesn't come from some massive life event, but rather from hundreds of tiny pressures, silently adding up every single day. An upcoming deadline, unanswered work emails, this month's bills, and all those invisible worries about the future. When the body has to maintain this red alert state for an extended period, studies show it directly affects the areas of the brain that process emotions and rewards. Simply put, your brain is pouring all its energy just into surviving the day, so there's practically no room left to process joy or excitement. You know what I mean? This isn't because you're weak. This is actually a completely natural defense mechanism, designed to help our ancestors focus on immediate dangers rather than leisurely enjoying the moment. The only problem is, in modern life, this mechanism is being triggered at the wrong times, and it's happening almost continuously. And the next reason is probably more common than you think. Have you ever wished for a new job, a new relationship, or a different life? And then, once you finally got it, how long did that feeling of immense happiness actually last? A week? A few days? Or just the exact moment you finally got your hands on it? In psychology, this phenomenon is called hedonic adaptation. It's the human tendency to always return to a baseline level of satisfaction after a certain period of time, regardless of whether what just happened was incredibly awful or incredibly amazing. This mechanism used to be incredibly useful because it kept our ancestors from getting stuck in a state of satisfaction, pushing them to keep looking for food, building shelter, and surviving. But in the modern world, where we have too many choices and too many things to achieve all at once, this adaptation process happens so fast that the joy practically vanishes the second it appears. You just reached a goal, and your mind immediately asks, okay, what's next? Now here is a part that catches a lot of people off guard. Try to imagine opening a streaming app with thousands of options. You endlessly scroll for 20 minutes, and finally turn it off without watching a single thing. Actually, it's not that you're being picky. This is a psychological phenomenon known as choice overload. When there are too many options laid out in front of you, the brain gets overwhelmed and struggles to make a decision. And the paradox is, the more choices we have, the lower our satisfaction with the final choice actually is. Researchers believe that this exact mechanism leaves us with this lingering feeling that maybe there's still a better option waiting out there somewhere. This mindset just quietly erodes your ability to fully enjoy anything. From a movie, to a meal, to a relationship. It's not that we're lacking choices. The truth is, we are lacking the ability to stop and appreciate the choice we already have. But it doesn't stop there. Sometimes, that feeling of nothing is interesting anymore doesn't stem from the brain at all, but from our very own repetitive daily routines. You wake up, go to work, scroll on your phone, then go to sleep. A loop that plays out almost exactly the same every single day, week after week. The human brain is naturally designed to react very strongly to novelty, because in the past, novelty meant either new opportunities or new dangers that needed to be remembered. When your environment lacks new experiences, sometimes just tiny things, like taking a different route to work, trying a food you've never had, or striking up a conversation with a stranger, your brain gradually loses the opportunity to generate a natural sense of excitement. It's not because you've exhausted your capacity to feel, it's because you're lacking the raw materials to feel anything. And the final reason is perhaps the most silent but destructive one of all: social comparison on the internet. Every time you scroll through your phone, you are looking at dozens, hundreds of the most carefully curated moments of other people's lives, luxurious vacations, sparkling parties, or brilliant achievements. And whether you want to or not, your brain automatically places your own life on the scale to compare. According to social psychology studies, constantly comparing yourself like this unintentionally makes our perfectly normal experiences feel like they're not good enough. A quiet evening at home, sipping a cup of tea, which is inherently a very pleasant thing, suddenly feels incredibly dull when placed next to pictures of someone's glamorous trips on your feed. And so gradually, we stop evaluating joy by our own true feelings. Instead, we measure it by asking, is this impressive enough compared to someone else? That being said, at this point, there's a boundary we need to talk about very carefully. A temporary loss of interest, caused by stress or lifestyle, will usually improve on its own when you make positive changes. It could just be getting a really good night's sleep, taking a short weekend getaway from the city, or actively taking some time away from your screens. But if this feeling of emptiness persists continuously for weeks, accompanied by insomnia, loss of appetite, or feeling completely detached from everything around you, then that could very well be a sign linked to depression, where anhedonia is a very common symptom. The important thing you need to remember is, these insights are not a medical diagnosis. They are just a gentle reminder to slow down and listen to your body more closely. Don't play the guessing game with yourself. If things feel too difficult, sitting down to talk with a mental health professional will help you see much more clearly what's truly going on inside you. So, in summary, the feeling of not caring about anything anymore rarely stems from just a single cause. It's a complex puzzle, a resonance of a saturated dopamine system, and a body exhausted from prolonged stress. It is the result of a mind that has gotten too used to adapting, an environment suffocated by too many choices, a lifestyle impoverished of novelty, and those toxic, silent comparisons on social media. But what's the good news? The good news is that most of these causes are completely within our power to change, starting with very, very small adjustments in our daily habits. You don't necessarily have to flip your entire life upside down. So, what about you? When was the last time you felt truly, truly excited about something? Share it with me down in the comments below. Who knows, maybe your story is exactly what someone out there really needs to read right now. And finally, if this video helped you understand yourself a little bit better, subscribing to the channel would be a massive motivation for me to make many more videos just like this one. Don't forget to leave a like and let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.